again, and I think we're going to see more and more of the stock laying turns, but we saw a number of them here. A couple people laid track. Let me see. This was a stock lay. I think this was, or it may have been a split between them. Over here was a track lay for green. He upgraded. He took a green card and then turned it into a UP. Not really an upgrade, but he feels pretty secure with his greens, even though there are people who are hoarding them in their hand. He doesn't know about that. All he knows is I got 4 of them and nobody else is showing any. So I feel pretty good. Over here again, a track lay for red, pushing down, and here a track lay for white. Again, someone thinking they held the majority in white so they can build up their holding, in this case in green, in order to proceed. We're going to be moving a little more swiftly now, I hope, not looking at every single card play. That's just, the nature of how I like to run these. It's almost impossible for me to remember what I did, though. I think we had some track lays here, pushing yellow further up. This guy, I think, played a stock lay, improving his holding, so now he's got first place in both black and brown. Stock lay, getting him a tie for second in yellow, and first place in orange. Now nobody's building orange, but he's got track for orange. He wanted to lay that down, and then he can expand his holding with another double play there next time, presumably. Over here, we saw track lays for green, pushing further. Here, track lay for red, and pushing downward, and then I think he drew a red and took a UP for it. The idea there being, hey, I really ought to get some kind of holding in the UP. 2's not going to get me much, but 1 will, and what do I want to do with that? Hard to tell. Right now, could have put a green and a UP or something down to get himself placement, except this guy dropped his greens onto the board and is now, firmly in second there. This guy was looking at trying to draw a white or a green. That's why he laid track. He drew something else, the red, and took his UP for that. Test my memory again. Looks to me like this guy dropped a couple of cards. Definitely the blue. I don't know what he matched with it. Maybe the red for a tie for second place in it. That's a pretty weak position. Nah, it couldn't be because he has a red already. So he must have been filling out maybe the UP, filling out a tie for second in UP. A lot of people are tied for second there. We got 1, 2. Well, no, this guy hasn't dropped his yet. He's holding off, and over here filled out, I believe, the gray and the brown. Brown, there wasn't really a need for, but black. This pushed him forward. Over here, having trouble thinking of what he did. I think he built some orange track to start things off. Get that up through Buffalo. Over here was a drop for of stock. This guy's still running red trains. The reason is, hey, green, I could get tied for second because this guy's got that. I could get tied for first in white if I drop both of them. I could put myself in a stupid position otherwise. For example, I could have dropped a UP in something else. Dropping a bunch of UP puts me tied for second with them. I want to get a little bit better positioning than that point-wise. So I wanted to play with my stocks. I think I ended up with a UP out of the stock, but I'm not positive. Over here, and actually it would have only been 2 UPs, putting him in a deep back layer. This guy put down his blues. He didn't actually build any blue track because he's slapping them down, but he's planning on expanding blue, making it kind of his second company right now. He could have expanded white though and kept drawing. That probably would have been just as valuable in some ways. One thing we noticed, this guy picked up the last of the UP shares on a trade-in. That means no more UP shares. So the UP is decided. It's just a question of when it's going to fall and what it's going to end up as. We can look and see. This guy does have first place. Over here, he's got the potential for second. And then there's a possible tie for third. But right now, these 3 guys are sharing second place, and then this guy's going to be way at the back. You don't want to get stuck with none of them because you want to be able to drop your UPs, drop a UP or whatever. Getting even just a few bucks, it's better than, this guy at start is $1, $2, $3, $4. That's about what, a UP or 2 is worth. So about the UPs, building track is a little less valuable. You don't have I know I can get something I can kind of score off of feeling no matter what. Because no matter what you draw, you can always cash it in for a UP until they're all gone. Well, this guy, though, did extend into yellow, but we're seeing other people playing their cards. He extended his UP in, I think, black. Not sure. Over here, I think we saw a track line. It can't be. Yeah, he must have extended some of his holdings. I think second place in yellow, and maybe second place in red as well. Over here, this guy did not have any stock left to play, so he kept extending his green lines, and green is making its way across the south here. Got himself something he doesn't really know what to do with, but who knows, it might end up being valuable. I mean, if he played it right now, assuming he got another card to play at the same time, it would put him in a tie for second for a kind of somewhat stilted line, but that's okay. Over here, dropped his UPs, getting himself his own place in tied for third. That's going to be the big block there. And this guy dropped his UPs as well with the thought of, well, they're never going to get better. It's just a question of, well, did I want to drop another card with them? Now all his stocks are out, though, so he's fine. He doesn't know for sure. That was last place with the UPs, so why drop both of them? I don't know. There was nothing else really to do. We had a pretty heavy track building turn, and that's dangerous because there are times, you don't want to waste laying just one card down, but this guy, for example, well, he could get a second place in black, which, if it's the end of the game, could be vital. However, he played and took himself and got a purple card, which he wanted anyway. He wants to extend his lead in that. And even though he's not building track in that, he's building it in green. Let's see. We had here yellow extending. Over here, I think a black extension. This guy pushing pale gray to get more tracks in play overall. This fella here, some reds. I don't know where he took them. I think up here. And over here, this guy white. Now this guy managed to pick up a white, and he's actually got the lead if he drops it down, which he's probably going to do because white's quite potent now. White's kind of interesting because they're kind of cut off. There's this whole section of track that they could lay segments they could lay track in, but they've got enough to cover what few little rails they need. They've got one automatic here. They're almost guaranteed some in here or here. So they don't really need to carve out any space. It's just, it would be kind of cool to block people off the way they were blocked off. But yeah, they managed it. For example, this is guaranteed to them. No one else can take this because they've got the two 1-point adjacencies. This one is harder, so they've got to share the risk, the right to get to these with someone. Right now it looks like only they and green will have a shot at it, and green has been concentrating over here actually. So we'll go for another one around. The deck's getting smaller though, and there's a lot of risk in play. You kind of want to get your cards out if they're going to get you a first or second place, even at the moment, because at any point something could score. And speak of the devil, this guy did bringing things out. I think he brought out a couple of cards that got him second places. But then this fella built some track for the black running up there through Canada, and that gave him some bonuses, but he pulled this sucker. He could have played out for second place, for ties for second places. Probably would have gotten him a buck, certainly would have cost him. Did realize one ugly situation. This guy, I thought putting the Union Pacifics out was always good. It's not. They only go out to 5 shareholders. He basically wasted a turn to drop these 2 cards. They did him no good whatsoever. They're not going to even panic anyone into doing anything because so many UP cards were out already. He basically did that at the end after everyone else had played theirs, if I recall correctly, and claimed 6th place, which was worth nothing. He shouldn't have played 2 to begin with. He should have set it up so he played only 1 with 1 other card, even if 6th place gave him something. So that was kind of a mistake. Most of the people about the same money though. Here, 23, 26 for the turn. 23, 22, 21. Hey, you know, he probably could have capitalized and made himself an extra buck. Well, maybe more than, no, only an extra buck for this. But then over here, 29 bucks, the guy with the 2 biggest payouts, really. So you can see money is kind of always going to be close, just in terms of what you can make. What's really bonus, though, is those people who've still managed to keep something like the Brown Railroad. Yeah, it's not worth a whole hell of a lot in terms of absolute dividends, but he's got the only shares of it showing, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 2 is $6. That's pretty decent off of something you haven't put any effort into, really. So that's kind of a sweet situation. And I think there was at least one other case of that. Orange over here was similar. That only brought in $4. Not as impressive as the brown. But it's kind of interesting what things will bring you money. Anyway, next card could conceivably be the end of the game, actually. Anytime somebody's going to build track, they could be ending the game now. You don't have the UPs, which can serve as sort of a safety. You know, you can draw a UP and you know you're not going to be triggering a card off the top of the deck. One thing you got to watch out for in this game, though, is not to mix these guys into there. I found a rail inside my stocks. It can screw up the balance of the different companies a little bit. It's probably not that big a deal. I don't feel like anybody's ever been in a position of, oh my god, I got no cards to play in the rails. I've been in that position in this game and it sucks. But in this particular playing of it, I haven't seen that happen. And we see turn finishing up, I think, with everybody doing track lays actually, except for this guy who dropped some white down. And people doing track lays only on the stuff that kind of helps them. So, for example, this guy played orange still. He's still in the lead in orange. He's in the lead in pale gray, too. His cards didn't help him with that, though. You can see he's just got these left. He had a card he could use there. He may be at a point where he has to drop cards, stock cards, just because he has nothing that he really wants to play. Over here, building up green. This guy, of course, did the whites. This guy's building blue. Now, blue's kind of screwed. Blue has 2 different types of track it can use, but it's completely cut off here, and he doesn't... Well, he has one here, so he should be cutting his way down into those white territories. If he does it right, maybe he can get all the way to here and get into these dashed lines because he got shut down out of them just because blue didn't get to lay track early. You can see I'm cut off here, 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 here. It's just really, really rough. Almost no chance of that line getting to be anything impressive. And that is the Marquette Rocky Road. What's funny about the rails here, these aren't, other than the UP obviously, most of these aren't really that big. We've got, I don't know, these are not, I'm not even sure if these are all like the Miami Southern. I guess that's what turns into the Southern, but I'm not sure. These may be made up companies, largely, which is kind of strange to me. Empire State, I think, existed. Either that or they're very small railways comparatively. That kind of takes some of the flavor away from me. I like playing with the ones, I want the names to be the ones that I recognize for the area they're covering. Now, it may be that the El Paso Rio Grande existed before the Denver El Paso and Rio Grande, right? You know, this may be kind of a pre-merger situation. But I just don't feel like I'm seeing the railways I expect to be growing here. I think these are historical ones, but I'm not positive of that. Simply because I don't recognize most of the names. So I should try to reconsider what I've done here. A lot of track laying, but some people not so much. So for example, here this guy did lay down I think an additional orange and yellow. That gives him second place in yellow, maybe. Maybe I'm mistaken. Not sure. Yeah, it gets pretty damn hard. This guy was drawing, hoping to get a green or a purple. He's got to defend both of those. This is kind of a problem. So this guy, for example, has to defend white and red, and then he's got his greens that he wants to lay at some point. So he took a white to help defend his holdings here, but that meant the next card that came up actually was a green. So this guy has that. Now he's got the shot at getting first place in green, which means this guy's now in like third place, which is worthless unless he draws another one. So that's where we're heading. And it's really, you know, this whole push your luck element gets to the wire at this point where, like, you know, you don't want to waste a turn dropping just two cards, even if it's one of two different companies. You certainly don't want to waste it dropping one useful card. But you also may not be willing to risk, you know, if you're going to gain a decent amount of points, to risk drawing from that deck, which is what happens whether you take from the deck itself or from the known pool there. Definitely seeing some card play here. Got him tied for first in the purples and threw some more yellow on the board. The tied for first in the purples is the big thing. It isn't worth that many points, but it's worth points, and you don't know. It could be ending at any point. Here I think he built track, but protecting his browns, protecting orange, drawing track. He dropped cards, didn't he? He dropped another purple, giving him first place again, and a black, which gives him a tie for second on the black line. The black line's not bad. It's pretty decent at this point. It had seemed pretty stunted earlier, but kind of like purple was, or blue, but it's grown quite large. This guy laid track for his white in order to pick himself up another green. This guy dumped his greens down, and he now has the lead in the biggest of the railways, other than maybe the UP, whatever. And it's kind of coming down to the wire here. Part of me thinks, gee, I should do a play-by-play type scenario for the ending. But, you know, let's start. All right, so this guy draws his rail, looks at his situation. He wants to improve what he's best at. That's yellow. or if need be something else, but yellow's what he really wants to do. Now he dropped cards in part last time because he didn't have anything to help yellow, and that's still the problem for him. He has no track that helps him. Blue, he can't really help too much. He's in second place for blue. Doesn't feel like he's gonna get a... See, his problem is whatever he picks up, there's this opportunity, you know, if I could get purple, I could get second in that, I could get first in that maybe. But I think I can get first in blue. I've got a lot of these cards, so we'll go with that. This is kind of the... Now, if I don't get first, I'm just helping the guy who's got first right now. Right now I'm just tied for second. That's not going to help much. Well, if I'm going for blues, I had better draw them. And we see an orange come up over here. And of course the deck might last so long that this play-by-play for this round may not do anything, but it'll at least give you an idea of what the decision making towards the end is, where it's very different from what it was at the beginning. Now, I got a brown and a black. I don't really need to improve either of those. I'm in good shape on both of them. I may want to pick up a black, or I may want to pick up something else that I could score. For example, no one's got an orange on the board except for the leader, I think. Anyway, I want to build track for the black if I can. This is my only option. And I'm kind of running out of places to build. Let's break down into here where there's some toys down here that I can play with. And now I get to draw something. Do I want another black? I got a decent amount of blacks. Nobody's got many showing. I feel safe. Now somebody could steal it easily. Yellow. A second yellow would actually give me second place, tied for second. It's an okay line. Or do I want to just draw and see what I get? Because I could get something cooler. What would be cooler? Nothing I can think of. I think yellow is as good as I'm going to draw. Well, that might have been pretty good too. Over here. But yeah, I think the yellow's better. All right, this guy has another orange and a green. Neither one does him butt kiss. So, well, our situation is we like pale gray and we like orange. And those are the only colors that we really care about at all. We have orange in our hand, so we'd rather play that, but we got no track for it. So we'll play something for pale gray here. Assuming there are trains left, they have a very limited company. We'll open up more possible slots. What do we want to pick up off there? Keeping people out of our orange seems like a good idea, but there's a red. We could tie for first in red. Yeah, good luck with that, huh? Coming over here. 4 purple doesn't need it, a yellow doesn't need it, so we'll build track. We want to build track for either purple or green. Well, no, not for green. We're no longer in the lead in green. We really need green track, don't we? So purple's what we're looking at. Purple. I can get into this stuff. I try not to play my wild cards just because they're too useful. This gets me to blank track, which is what we want. We want the unmarked track if we can get it. Now we get a pickup opportunity. We really need greens. Yep. Well, that is going to be the game. I'll score this round and then come back for that, and then I'll look at the total scores. Dropping stocks down can be really, really important to your game. But on the other hand, if you get carried away with it, if you're protecting stuff that you're already scoring and you're not growing your lines, you end up stagnating. For example, this guy's at 23, this guy's at 24 for the round, whereas everyone else is in the low 30s, 33, 33, 31. This guy dropped in terms of overall value because of the fall of green. Now, how did this guy end up behind? Well, he lost out in his whites, for example. He also didn't get the Union Pacific, which just keeps growing. It has an automatic growth factor. It's one of the nice things about UP stocks. You don't have to maintain them. They're going to go up. You don't have to do anything about them. And they usually kind of solidify early in the game, like we saw here. People want to grab them up. Not in that early round where they're worthless, perhaps, although I've seen it happen. But later on, they definitely crank money at least as well as everything else. Most of these railroads, I mean, let's look at green. Green is the monster, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There were others that got 11. I think red did. So it's not necessarily that huge a deal to have some of those, to maintain power in some of those other railroads. You get very lucky, though, if you have kind of one of those cheapos like the orange or the brown that you're able to not put a lot of effort into, yet get the kind of money that you would for maybe a first place finish with a medium-sized rail that other people are invested in. I'll add up the totals, come back with what they are. Well, the scores ended up something of a shock, which leads me to kind of wonder maybe somebody stole 10 bucks from someone else. In particular here, I got 50 bucks here, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 85 in this position. He didn't feel like he was cranking that kind of money ever. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 72, 30, 66. This was the guy I thought was doing really well. In the last round, he did the best. 66 here, and only 49 here. I knew he was doing poorly. Some of the people got like nothing in their first round, whereas others got a decent amount. And I think this guy scored well in his first round. So, what seems like it's going to be not that big a deal early on. Well, as long as the money's kind of close throughout the whole game, you can stretch ahead. Although I do feel like I may have made some sort of error there. Anyway, that's a quick game of UP. It doesn't take all that long. Yes, it's kind of hard to follow when I've got everything face up, but that makes it a little easier for me to do it solitaire. And, I think you can kind of distinguish between where the actual stocks were and where the handheld stocks were. Hopefully I didn't cheat there as well. Never can be sure when I'm doing a game solo or opposed for that matter. Mistakes creep in. All right, I'll be back with a review at some point soon after I clean this up. And it takes a little bit of effort to clean up. Not too much. Not as much as an 18XX game. I just got to put all the little chips in there. Setup is kind of expensive, though. Because you got to sort the decks and everything. And mainly because the rule book is kind of this procedural thing. And there's actually a lot of verbiage in the way of getting to that cookbook information that presents how you set up the beginning of the game. All right, let's send it up.